Well, welcome back to Wealth Mavericks, where we're unlocking the secrets the wealthy know and the government won't tell you. If you're new, welcome. We're glad that you're here. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast or to this YouTube channel so you get notified when new episodes drop. I'm really looking forward to episode today. This is, I think, one of the most critical things that we're ever going to talk about, Bob. You and I have talked about this a lot, but it's really about your mindset. It's the tools and the tips and the tricks and the hacks and all that kind of stuff is good. That's all helpful. I think we've all experienced that, but we probably have all also experienced a mindset shift that it was like, before this moment I felt and thought this way, and after this moment I felt and thought differently. I'm hoping that this episode today, as we talk with people, their mindset will shift around some of these things. And I know we'll talk a lot about the quadrants and the mindset shift that it takes, for all of that. But before we really dive in, what do you got coming up that you're really looking forward to?
This is tax planning season. If you're listening to this and you're in the fourth quarter of a year, maybe it's, maybe you're listening to this for the first time and it's, we're in 2026. Right? Who knows? I'm thinking forward, buddy. This is, it's tax planning season. And this is the time where businesses are looking at their balance sheets and their financial statements, and they're saying, wow, we've done really well, or we could do better. But what do we do? Right, we're going to have some profit, and last year we had some profit. We weren't happy about the taxes that we paid, and what do we do? And so here we are again. We can repeat history or not. So I'm excited for this opportunity to learn, work with so many business owners this time of the year, and have conversations and work on this topic. Mind shift. This is the mindset and the mind shift that we as business owners have to go through is radical. And I don't think we actually recognize what that means to us. We just do. But it's a pretty radical experience for us as business owners.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, I know, and we've talked about so many of these topics, just you and I in conversation, and I always appreciate those. But I think, the first mindset shift I'd love to talk with you about is, in life, in war, in competition, in business, like the fewer enemies you have, the better, right? You don't want to just amass enemies. And I think one of the common enemies that business owners often feel is the IRS. The IRS is my enemy. They're trying to come in and steal from me, and they're trying to take from me. And it's always this adversarial relationship that I think it's almost universal. In my experience, there's also some fear around it because the IRS is a massive company, right? With lots of power. They can put you in jail, right? I mean, it's like the new stuff that was coming out, they've got, armed agents that are going around. It's like it's this adversary that is so intimidating. And so we've kind of just grown up looking at it that way. But we've had conversation. I'd love for you to share with everyone. Is there a different way that we can look at the IRS?
Yeah, no, I love looking at the IRS as a business partner. I mean, if you look at the business of the government, it's a business. It needs revenue. And in history, you go back and you go watch movies of kings and queens and, territories. The only way that those kingdoms could survive was tax. They tax their people. And so it's no different today. And so the government as a business needs to run on revenue, and that revenue we call tax. They have to have somebody collect it. And that's what the Treasury Department of the United States is responsible for, is how do we manage the money of the government, of the business? Just like you as a business, you have a finance department, you may have your CPA does your bookkeeping, your accounting, your tax, your payroll, your accounts receivable, your accounts payable, whatever. You have your Treasury Department. And so does the government. And the Treasury Department has a branch of it that is there to collect revenue. Just like if we have clients or customers that don't pay, we have to send them to collections. And we got to get that money. And so that's what the IRS is that they're a collection agency. The fear comes in is not understanding taxes, not understanding the revenue I'm supposed to offer. And so when you think about us from the high school, we get our first part-time job at a fast food shop, or mine was a paper route. You work these first entry-level jobs, make a minimum wage or a little bit more, gain experience. As we told our kids, it's not because of the money, it's because of the experience. You want to learn how to work with people, and you have a manager who's going to manage you, and you need to learn how to deal with somebody that's not your parents telling you can't do something, or something that just doesn't make sense. It's not about the money, it's about the learning experience. And I think, like in California, when I was a kid, that was prevalent. When my kids were kids, their underage kids did not work part-time jobs unless it was with their parents. Moving to Texas, it's completely different. So now my kids have the experience of business, an experience of learning things. And so they're becoming better at, and which is what a business owners, when you don't usually start your business in high school. You get out of high school, you may start a business, or most people become an employee and they continue that employee route. And so you get your paycheck, you're paying these taxes, you're not sure why. You may end up hiring a CPA or a firm to do your taxes because it's very complicated, right? And I just don't know what all this stuff means. So just plug in your numbers, the W-2, K-1, all these term and all, I don't know what it is. So it creates that insecurity or that fear. Which a lot of times CPAs have that same fear as well, because they understand a particular certain area, or they've chosen to just do taxes and not necessarily anything in the tax environment outside of that, like tax planning. So it's not that they're bad or they don't know what they're doing. It's just an education thing, just no different than what we're talking about. It's a mindset thing. And so all of a sudden you become a business owner. We still have that employee mindset because our business is generating revenue for our personal lifestyle. So a lot of times we're looking at our business, even though we're running a separate entity, a separate organization, we run it with a mindset of as an employee. So when you look at a lot of businesses that are service type businesses now, because a lot of manufacturing has moved out of the United States. So you end up being more service oriented. And so it's usually the owner who has the knowledge. They hire other people to support that knowledge. But to break out of that singular knowledge epicenter, so to speak, of that owner, you still are with the employee mindset. So I say all that because it creates this fear. So now if you take a few steps back in the mindset of looking at the business of the IRS, as your business partner, they have guidelines written out, and their guidelines really as a business owner is, hey, as a business owner, we know there's a cost of doing business, right? We're not going to tax you on that. We're going to allow you to take that revenue, the money that you earn from your clients and customers. We're going to allow you to take that and pay for things to help create more revenue. And in fact, with those deductions, those areas of saving money on taxes, that cost of doing business, when you have profit, we're probably going to tax that as income. Okay. But you don't have to. You can take that money and put it back in your business and marketing and grow your business. You can hire people. So when we as business owners do that and our revenue increases, and all of a sudden we're sitting there as a business owner going, oh my, I'm working my tail off. I don't feel like I'm getting ahead. I need to hire somebody. There's a mindset with that. It freaked me out as a business owner to hire my first employee.
That is so true. And that, I mean, in the area that I, am, well versed in, building sales teams, for example, it is a scary moment. There's a moment where you look at your business and you go, okay, I've achieved this certain level of success, and now I need to clone myself. And cloning's not legal yet. So I don't know. Maybe you're listening to this at a time. It's 2175 and it is. But you look at this, how do I replicate myself? And you're right. That's this mindset shift where I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to take this chunk of money that would have normally come to me, and I'm going to allow it to go to somebody else so that they can do this level of work and increase and improve the business. You're exactly right.
And for me, it was, I'm responsible for that person now.
Right.
So the roof over their head is my responsibility. The food in their mouth and their kids' mouth, their kids being able to go do activities that my kids are able to do. I'm responsible for that now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm committing to that by saying, yes, I'm hiring you. And so for me, it was very overwhelming. It took me probably 4 years, which means that I probably stifled my growth in that
Mm-hmm.
period of time because I tried to do a lot, but that mindset shift. And finally, I took the leap. I just did it. I
Mm.
have to do it. And I have a business coach and I talked and worked through it. And he said, Bob, you'll know when you know. And because he understood the mind shift of me, once I commit to that decision, there's no looking back. Right.
Right.
Now we have multiple companies and probably a staff of 30, 35 people, right? In a 4-year, 5-year period.
Mm-hmm.
I hired my first person 3 years later where, it's because of understanding this relationship we're talking about, the IRS as a business partner. So now I have the ability to invest in my business. My business grows. I have to hire people. What are those people? They're in the E quadrant. They're employees. Do
Right.
they pay taxes? Yes. Do I pay taxes for them? Yes. It's called payroll taxes,
Mm-hmm.
Social Security tax, Medicare tax, right? I have taxes I have to pay for that person as well, right? Which is what to the government? Revenue.
Right.
There's no requirement for me as a business owner to have to pay taxes. There is a requirement for me to report my income, my expenses on my tax return, which is a financial statement that indicates what extra income I have for a taxing purpose. If
Right.
I have money left over, it gets taxed. If I don't have money left over, there's no tax. You don't have that ability as an employee. So
Mm.
that's a very important quadrant, the employee quadrant, again, because they're helping me as an owner generate more revenue for the government. Connected each other. We both have to do it. We're doing it in our business,
Mm-hmm.
but we are also in partnership with the IRS, the government, to help the government generate revenue so we can have military, police officers, firemen, right? Teachers, whatever the infrastructure of your area is,
Mm-hmm.
that's our responsibility.
Right.
And so, but
Right.
that's all a mind shift.
It is, and I think there's some important elements to touch on. So, like I, for example, think the government spends money willy-nilly and very inefficiently.
Agreed.
That doesn't matter. I mean,
Right.
it's really, it's not that that's not my business. It is, but it's like that's out of my control. And
Exactly.
the theoretically, the government could choose to tax us on gross income. I
Absolutely.
mean, they could. They
Some
haven't.
states do that. Some states do that.
Interesting. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So how would that work? So they're saying gross income, the state is going to tax you on gross income. That's interesting.
So that's how states generate revenue is through taxes.
Right.
So, but like for example, the state of Texas,
Mm-hmm.
if you make between 0 and a certain amount of revenue, you don't pay any taxes on your revenue.
Mm-hmm.
But if you make over that, you pay a tax. So the state says, hey, we understand as small business owners, you need the cash flow to grow your business. We
Right.
want to help you. We as a state or as a government want to be in business with you, support you, help you grow. We want you to build the biggest business you possibly can without the limitation of us. But when you get to this point, we will start taxing you for this and above.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. I find that to be fair because
Right.
at the end of the day, depending on what state you're in, like the state of California I was in, tax you on your income,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they being the highest income tax state in the nation, that's what they're going to do. So they make a lot of rules and laws and changes to those laws to collect what? Revenue. Because
Right.
the state, to your point, spends money inefficiently. Again, I have no control over that. So
Right.
what did I do? I left the state because I have control
You
over
have control
that.
over your body and where it
That's
is.
right. That's right.
But I think that's an interesting thing. If we look at the IRS as an enemy, then everything it does is going to like grate on
Bad,
us and
yeah.
be If we look at it as a partner, we're going to go, okay, how do I maximize this partnership? And I think that was one of the biggest mindset shifts that you caused for me as an entrepreneur, is to say, how do I learn the rules
Mhm.
to then maximize what they are trying to help me with?
Mhm.
And I don't know exactly how long the US tax code is, but it's like tens of thousands of pages if you were to like print out the whole thing. So from this mindset shift to go, okay, how do I maximize, this partnership with the IRS? Like, how does one even begin that journey other than listening to this podcast?
Yes. Well, for me, it was like with anything you're interested in learning, you just start learning. You go grab a book on what question do I have that I want an answer to? And you go look for it. If there's a book, I read it. If there's a website, I read it. If there was a workshop, I went to it. And I started off with my own tax return. And I looked at line by line, and I Googled. Google was my friend at that time, was just trying to figure it out. Why is it? And then I started learning the flow of the tax forms. And it became it's very, very intelligent of how it's all accounting. The tax forms are accounting. It starts wide. You have a lot of schedules. You have a lot of forms to collect data. And as you collect data in these forms, it slowly consolidates into your first page of your 1040 is all your incomes.
Right.
The second page is all your deductions and what you owe. 2 pages. Every taxpayer, the first 2 pages of every taxpayer, doesn't matter their wealth. Every single taxpayer on the first 2 pages, the IRS knows your situation. It's a summary page. It's an executive summary.
Right.
Right. And if you want to know more, it tells you on those 2 pages what schedule to go to
find whatever it might be.
Whatever it is.
So if somebody's, and again, I think this is a mindset shift. I know for me in business, and this is me being very transparent. So I was a very, very good student growing up, like straight A's, like all through school. When I got to college, I got my first C, and it was in accounting. And so I had this like trepidation about accounting. And I think because so much of this looks that way, I'm like, okay, my job, the way I solve problems is I go make money. Right. And I think a lot of business owners, their mindset is that if I want to get out of a situation, I go do sales, I go focus on marketing, I just go generate more revenue. And I think we've got to the mindset shift is we've got to leave this world of fear about this thing that maybe we don't know. Yeah. Maybe we feel like from a financial perspective, like we're a financial moron. It's like I have one side of the equation figured out, which is go make more. And candidly, unfortunately for us, that actually does solve a lot of issues. It creates new issues, but it solves a lot. And so it feels like we solved the problem. And then we go rely on our CPA to account for the numbers. And then we get frustrated at the end of the year when we look at what the tax bill is going to be. Right. Yeah. It's like this insane cycle. And so I think the mindset shift is to say, I'm going to leave this ignorance is bliss world, just solving one side of the equation, and I'm going to go investigate, and I'm going to go find out, how do I build long-term wealth? That's a mindset shift. Rather than just build my business and focus on one half of the equation, I'm going to go figure out the other half and how to use it to my advantage. And that's what you did when you started diving into your returns and going, can I understand this? Yes. The answer is yes, you can understand it, but you've got to have the desire to dive in and do that. So I think, go ahead.
Sorry. And here's why that happened. It wasn't because I wanted to save money on taxes. We all do, right? We all want to save money, but it wasn't enough of a desire. I heard so many people complaining about taxes. And as somebody who cares and wants to help others, what do? It's your business to go figure out how to make that happen. And so if it's there and it keeps happening and it keeps being said, that must be where I need to be at. And so it gave me the ability, the ministry, the desire, the focus to be able to, how do I help somebody else who doesn't know this? How do I be that solution for them? If they're complaining about it and they all have CPAs, that solution's not happening.
Right. It's like, duh.
Yeah. So
Right.
There's got to be something else. And I knew there was, because you hear the business owners, you hear the government complain about the wealthy don't pay taxes. Well, they do. It's how do they pay taxes is different.
Right.
They're paying more taxes than everybody else. But how are they paying it? That became very eye-opening when Amazon, if you remember, Amazon was going to move their second headquarters to New York,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
AOC kicked them out. Basically, I did an entire YouTube video on this. This was years ago. What was 2000? On how stupid that was from a tax revenue perspective for the city and the state of New York. But
Right.
all she saw was this wealthy guy was going to get a tax benefits for 3 or 4 years, and he shouldn't. And she should have been kicked out of office, but nobody knows what
Right.
happened because they don't
All,
understand what we understand.
it's so true. And if you do, I've seen so many like man on the street videos where they go around asking questions like, do the wealthy pay their fair share of tax? Because this is kind of like this axiom that's used, in certain circles to cause people to feel against, business owners and those wealthy people. It's like, no, they just don't understand the real
Yeah.
numbers behind it, and like you said, how it's paid. And some of that is like, that's a mindset shift for them to understand, like, oh, understanding how tax, and candidly, it is confusing for a
Yeah.
lot of people, like, helping them understand how the tax system works and all the schedules and the 1040 and the this and the that and all these numbers. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's just too much. I'm going to hire someone to take care of
Yeah.
this for me.
Let me give you a very controversial example.
Okay.
You ready for this?
I'm absolutely ready.
I'm going to say the word and it starts with T and ends with rump.
Okay.
Trump. Trump. They want to destroy Trump from it. He doesn't pay taxes. He doesn't pay taxes. Well, let me ask you, have you ever stayed in a hotel?
I have, yeah.
Okay. Have you ever looked at your hotel bill?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the amount of taxes on a hotel bill?
Right. Shocking.
Shocking, right? When you walk into the hotel, is there somebody there to serve you? Or is it like McDonald's where you can go up to a computer and self-check yourself in and go get a key, do your own laundry, clean your own toilet? Or is there somebody there to help you?
That's actually a really good business idea, is to have like a self-serve, like check-in key. But I have not experienced that ever, but I think that's actually a good business.
You have somebody at the front desk that
Right.
helps you.
Always.
And they get a paycheck. And there's payroll taxes with that. Okay. So they buy a car. I would imagine they paid sales tax for the car. They buy gas for the car. They pay tax for the gas, right? Besides all the other things that employee does. You go to there's somebody who cleans, right? You leave a tip for them if they did a good job cleaning, but there's somebody who cleans. There's people that go and serve you a beer at the bar. There's people that do the breakfast buffet, right? There's valet. There are people that are running that hotel. They all earn an income. They're all paying taxes, as is the hotel paying payroll taxes for those individuals. What is that value? What is that number? You and I are usually going to a hotel because we're going to a business trip or a personal trip. It's not because we don't want to sleep in our own bed.
Right.
Right. So we're going to do something. So there's this hotel provides a service. Now, Trump, as an example, you and I can go to a La Quinta Inn and pay $65 a night or whatever. Not like you and me, right? I don't want to start any rumors. Separate rooms, everybody, separate rooms. Right? But we have that choice. Or if I'm the type of person where I like the service of what Trump is going to provide and that property is going to provide, I'm probably going to spend more money.
Right.
Right. And therefore the taxes are based on the what I spend. So the taxes are going to be higher on that property. So are they paying taxes? Yes. Now, Trump has been giving the opportunity by the IRS to utilize, because he chose to take that risk, or you can put in the name of any other hotel owner, take the risk to start and build that hotel. Right. And there's tax benefits to that. The IRS, because they know it's going to generate revenue. Right. So the IRS has invested in that business owner, Trump, or you as a business owner, to start your business, auto body shop, financial planner, you're a distributor for whatever you do, car salesman, cars manufacturer, doesn't matter what you do. The IRS gives you tax benefits to be able to do that, to where you can hire more and more people.
And by the way, and people miss this, it's the same set of rules that Trump is playing by. He does not have a
Same
special set
exact.
of rules,
That's right.
that, and there was a moment in one of the debates years ago where I think it was Hillary Clinton was basically saying something like this, and he said, y'all have had a chance to change this, but I know you're not going to, because all of your affluent donors, the people who have amassed wealth in their life and who then donate to you, they are operating by the same rules that I am, and I know you're not going to want to change that.
Mhm.
And again, to your point, it's because it's in all of our best interest for this system to work the way it does.
That's right.
But to rig the system in our favor is to understand the rules, to
Right.
not sit idly by with the mindset of, oh, this is I got to see in accounting, I'm never going to understand this, right? That's the voice that could play in my head versus the voice that says, let's get intentional about taking advantage of this knowledge and learning more so that I can help build my business partnering with the IRS.
That's right. That's right. And so part of this podcast and YouTube channel, the whole point of our episodes and our education is to say, hey, it's not just that. It's not just the mindset of, oh, you're a business owner. It's the mindset of, does Trump only have one business? Why does each of his properties have a singular business? Why does each of his properties have multiple businesses in that, meaning entities? The parking is different. The staff is different. The building itself is a different. Everything is a different entity. Why is that? Why, me as a small business owner, should I think about having a different entity? Why does Walmart have a separate entity for their trucks and their logistics? Why is that? What's the point of that, right? There's things around us as business owners that are there. It's all law and taxes. They're all there to allow us to say, here's how you amass wealth. And it's not by just having the singular business and doing what you've been doing. You have to have a mind shift to understand, okay, the wealthy, their first line of rate of return, when they have $1, their first line of rate of return is tax savings. How can I make this dollar productive? I want this dollar to do 10 separate things. How do I do that? Okay. And if I don't have to pay taxes on those 10 different things because I've structured it that way based on the guidelines of the IRS, then I have more cash flow to build my business better. You and I have the same opportunity. Same exact opportunity. Then it's, how do I make a rate of return on that money, that full dollar?
Right.
Right.
Well, I think that's, that kind of leads into the concept of the shift in mindset when thinking through the cash flow quadrant and E and an S and a B and an I, when shifting from B to I, or as we like to talk about, asset builders, right? When you shift from just being a business owner to be an asset builder, I think there are some really critical mindsets. And one of them is fighting tooth and nail the axiom of the more I make, the more I spend. This is almost unilaterally true. And almost every business owner that I have met, as they've succeeded in business, so also has their lifestyle increased. So they take fancier trips, they buy bigger homes and nicer cars, and kids go to different schools, like those things where their lifestyle, it's like if their business goes up, their lifestyle goes up to match it. And it does make sense, because it's like, we have this innate desire, and we've got this machine of marketing that I don't know what the total volume of dollars that flow into marketing are, but I think I heard the number is like 3 trillion or something like that. Jeez. Of people trying to influence us to do more, to have more, to buy more. So it's like we've got this massive pressure that here's what success looks like. And when you and I first met and you started talking me through this, Bob, I immediately was like, this is the way to combat that axiom, is when you shift your mindset from being a business owner to being an asset builder, you can be really intentional about that in tax-free or tax-deferred methods, and so maybe you can talk for a moment about, the mindset shift from being a business owner to being an asset builder.
Yeah. So I think we're tapping into it a little bit is as a business owner, our whole focus is our business, right? It's our baby, it's our bread and butter.
Yeah.
Some people see that and they have enough success and they hire some people and based on their team, they continue to strive to improve. You start learning to become a CEO or a president, and you're running the business and you're not in the business. right?
Mhm.
You're working on it, you're not in it, so to speak, right? And so there's a certain mind shift for some people, but most businesses that are in the maybe the S quadrant or the B quadrant, as a business, Robert Kiyosaki uses the B quadrant as a business that has a system. The owner of the business can walk away for 30 days and nothing happens. That's Robert Kiyosaki's definition of a B quadrant.
That's what it means to be in the B. And
Correct.
if you're not that, if you still are involved, does that mean that you're in an S, or you're kind of transitioning from S to B?
So I determine differently, and here's why. Because he is correct, but what he's trying to do is share to the masses that this is a different level you need to get to, and it takes a while and investment and understanding to make a purposeful mindset decision to get here.
Got it.
But most business owners who we work with, right? So when I look at E quadrant, that's an employee. There is no question what that is. You're earning a W-2, done. But when you go into the S quadrant, Robert Kiyosaki uses the S quadrant as somebody who's self-employed, like a service business, or somebody where if they go away for 30 days, go away for a month, no, business isn't going to be as successful. In fact, it probably won't grow. In fact, it may hemorrhage a little bit.
Right.
Right.
And this would be like physicians or attorneys, or I mean,
Correct.
in the traditional sense, right? It's
Traditional
like
sense,
you're not
yes.
there, income doesn't come in.
Yes. It could be a small manufacturing company that where the business owner is very important at every stage of the process of manufacturing, right? But I look at it separately. Is when I look at S quadrant as self-employed, that's somebody who's running their business on the Schedule C of the 1040. Okay, I'm going to get a little nerdy and technical, but
yeah, let's do it.
The Schedule C on the 1040 is part of the 1040. It's part of your personal tax return. So you're saying that I have a business, but if you're on a Schedule C, the IRS views it as a hobby. Now, they don't come out and say that. Right? That's my translation, because you get tax benefits, but you can't tax plan because you don't get certain tax benefits and certain tax planning strategies unless your business is a separate entity, not on the Schedule C, meaning your business files a separate tax return.
Got it. Okay.
So remember that and remind me to get back to that in a second. Okay. So let's stay on this Schedule C. What is a Schedule C? Anybody who has a side hustle, anybody who may be a business where their CPA says, you don't generate enough revenue. You generate $230,000 a year in revenue. It's not enough to set up a business entity. Why in the state of California do you want to set up a separate entity and pay $800 to the state?
Right.
These are actual words that come out of CPA's mouth.
Yes.
Not that it's the $800 they're worried about paying the state of California, but it's not the increased self-employment tax. It's not the inability to tax plan and get other benefits from it being a separate entity, or just getting off the Schedule C radar for audits. There are more audits in Schedule C. Why? Because it's a hobby schedule. It's a hobby business, right? People who don't want to pay taxes, they don't have the money to pay taxes. They generate revenue. They want to keep it. So they start deducting things. They don't know. They're on TurboTax and they're taking deductions and like, oh, the IRS won't know. They won't care. I'm just this little guy.
Right.
Which is why the IRS audits so many people at the income level 75,000 or lower.
With Schedule C. That element. So that's one element. That's interesting.
That's it. Now it's like, which car gets more speeding tickets? What color car?
I'm just going to say red because it sounds like the right answer.
But it's white.
Right, because there's more white cars.
That's it. That's
right.
it. Right. There's more. It's just a numbers thing. Same thing with the Schedule C. So why, as a business owner, do you want to be on that target when there's so many and the algorithms are working on that?
Your point, it's like to save $800, like people would invest $800 just to not have that target on their back.
That's it. That's right.
Interesting.
Right.
Wow.
So maybe we should charge people $800 to take them off of Schedule C.
Right.
But even when you look at that, it makes sense. What the CPA is saying is make sense.
From a numerical standpoint.
Correct. Why add that? But if you don't know the benefit of not being in a Schedule C, then why would you tell your clients not to be on a Schedule C? You wouldn't.
Right. Right.
So first thing we do is try to get somebody off a Schedule C. Now, there is a purpose and a reason to use a Schedule C in your tax planning strategy. Absolutely. But if you're just a business owner, you're running a business, you're making 230, and this is just a round number. This isn't the exact number. Anything above, you should set up something else. Everybody's different. I'm just using it as an example. Why not set up yourself as a S corp? Well, because I have to pay myself a salary. So what? You're already taking money out of your business on a Schedule C to pay for your lifestyle. Why not? Well, then I have payroll taxes. Exactly. You want to feed the dog. You want to let the IRS know you're serious. I am a business owner. I am serious. I'm going to schedule my W-2 and I'm going to pay payroll taxes.
Right.
Doesn't it make sense?
From a mindset perspective, it does. So when you're talking about these transitions that need to be made, from a mindset perspective, it's like the wrong mindset is I'm going to try to pinch every penny that I can and pay as little as I can over here. That's not necessarily strategy or planning. Yeah. That's just like, that's being unwise.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like somebody who watches and buys food with coupons, right? And they always have coupons, they always have the deals, but yet they go and buy a 12-pack of cigarettes and they have a smoking habit.
Right.
You're overpaying cigarettes, right? There's taxes on cigarettes, but you have this habit, but I'm going to save money here, but I'm going to waste money here.
Right.
Right. Or alcohol, or, whatever the case may be. Right. I'm not going to eat meat because I'm trying to eat healthier and save money, but I'm going to buy these manufactured products that have chemicals in them that I may not know what they are. My body may not be able to handle them, but
the marketing machine told me it was better.
It's a mindset, right? We're being manipulated.
Right.
Everywhere we're being manipulated. But in a business and a tax, the manipulation is very simple. It's simple math. So the first thing we do is get people off a Schedule C if they're just a business owner. And because we always ask, why are you in a Schedule C? I don't know. It's what my tax guy said.
Right.
What specifically did he say? I don't remember. Or they'll say, if they're in California, why pay the $800?
Well, and I think it's interesting because, we worked with a number of different tax companies, who help prepare taxes, do bookkeeping, et cetera. And when we asked the specific question, because you brought it up to me, it's like, when should you convert to be, from your LLC to being taxed as an S corporation? And when I asked that, our CPA had no clue. Now, this is a guy who's like at the very tail end of his career. Like, he's been doing this for 40 years. And he was like, and it just went to a math problem for him. It's not just a math problem. It's a mindset problem. So the mindset is, I am a business owner and I want to receive all the benefits as a business. And I want to do this, the quote unquote right way. And I'm going to follow the guidelines. And so I think most people who are listening to this are probably going to feel the same thing. It's like, yeah. And I'd encourage you, go ask your tax person.
Yeah.
If you're not, taxed as an S corporation, for example, why not? Yeah. Like, what's the rationale? And it's interesting to see the justification. Again, it's all going to be about numbers because that's what they know.
Yeah. And so I think the biggest thing is understanding that each entity structure is a tool. Why are these here? Why are they structured here? Why is a C corp a C corp? Why is an S corp an S corp? Why is a partnership a partnership? Why am I a sole proprietor? Why can I set up an LLC that can be taxed as any one of those? What is the tool designed? Because if you and I are in any other business and we need tools, whether we're a surgeon, a dentist, a auto mechanic, or we're building stuff, or a plumber, we have tools that help get a specific job done efficiently. I've got a monkey wrench. It's not a hammer. Now, you may use it as a hammer, but you can't consistently use it as a hammer.
Right. It's not what it was designed for.
It's not what it's designed for. So the same thing is with taxes, is that these entities have a purpose. Most of the wealthy have all of them.
Right.
have
for
all
their own purpose,
for
right?
their same purpose. Just like the most of our clients, this is not investment advice or anything like that. This is just an example. Most of our clients have money in the stock market. Most of our clients have a whole life policy, most life insurance policy. Most of our clients have an index universal life policy. Most of our clients have their business, and most clients have some sort of partnership structure that they're invested in as well, and real estate. Holy cow. How's that? Why? Because they're all tools to allow the planning process for efficiency on a tax perspective.
Right.
But you have to have a plan, and a plan requires a mindset. That's it. And that is how the quadrant. So when you go back to the S quadrant and you look at self-employed, that's what Robert Kiyosaki is saying, is that you're just, if you leave, but we're saying, hey, if you're not set up as a business entity, you're being treated as a hobby from the IRS, and therefore you don't get the benefits the IRS is going to give you to the fullest. Just set up a separate entity and you can be a business owner in the B quadrant. Now it's going to be different than Robert Kiyosaki's definition,
Right.
but once you're filing tax forms as a business, that means you have separate financial statements, you have a separate bank, right? You have other things, compliance from like corporate minutes or documenting, have a separate entity, meaning it's not you, the owner.
Right. You've got to do it the right way. I think that's the bottom line, is like but do it the right way and do it on purpose. And I think those are the questions I'd encourage anybody who's listening to this podcast to think about. Do I know why my corporate structure is set up the way it is? If not, stop being ignorant about it.
Yeah.
Like, ask the questions of your team. Say, hey, why are we set up this way? What advantages am I getting by being set up this way? What advantages am I missing by not being set up another way? And if you cannot, or your advisors cannot answer those questions, you need to move. Like, you are with the wrong team. Of course, we'd welcome you. We are still taking clients at Terra Firma, but you need to know the answers to those questions. Ignorance is not bliss, and it's no longer an excuse.
It's expensive.
It's expensive, and and you know what I think it is, Bob, like more than anything, it's costing you your future. It's costing you your legacy. Like, those are the things. You're going to live in a nice life. Like, you're going to absorb most of your spending into your lifestyle. It likely will not bring a whole lot more joy or happiness. It'll just get absorbed into your life. You'll live in bigger homes. You'll drive nicer cars. You'll have fancier meals, like all that. And don't get me wrong, like, that's enjoyable. But is that more enjoyable than building wealth? And I think that's the mindset for me that has been. And by the way, it's so exciting when you start getting on this pathway. I know you've been. I mean, you live what we teach, and so you are seeing this play out as you're building assets and you're building wealth for generations to come. It's exciting when you start getting on that, rather than doing things on accident. You're doing it on purpose. And so I think that's, again, going back to why we have this podcast in the first place. Like, we want to help as many people as we can, and making these mindset shifts when you change quadrants is really, really important. So, first of all, thank you so much. Thanks for all of your knowledge and being willing to share this with the world. It really is a gift, I think, that you've been given by God to be able to share this with a lot of people. I have fun being part of it. And I think everyone who's listening to the podcast is going to continue to benefit. So, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast or to this YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe, because we're dropping new content all the time. And this is not going to be like at the top of the algorithms being pushed to you unless you're subscribed. Hit subscribe, click the notification bell. And more importantly, share this with other people. If you know other business owners who are struggling just like you are to figure out and understand, everything that's going on in your financial world, share this content with them. You have no idea the impact it could make in their world. And then lastly, leave a comment below. Let us know what questions you've got, or even scenarios. Like, if you want answers for your specific scenario, we'll leave the details. I will leave your name out, unless you want to be on the pod. Actually, that'd be fun, Bob, to have some people on the podcast. They can join and ask their questions. So if you're interested, leave a comment, let us know what questions you've got, and we'll get to that content.